Hello, welcome to Old Church Studios. My name's Linda Moore and I'm a spinner, weaver and dyer. And I specialise in making wearable art and household items. On the front door you can see the prototype of my signature rainbow shawl. This is woven in lamb's wool and I dyed it in over 36 colours. These take a long time to make, and so I only make a limited edition of 4 every year. Come with me down the garden to my studio and welcome to my usually woolly world. I enjoy all aspects concerning yarn, from spinning it to dyeing it and finally to weaving it and making cloth. In the video you'll see part of this process where I've dyed the yarn. It's a beautiful cashmere and silk mix in orange, magenta, turquoise and a teal and purple. These amazing colours I hope will all go together to produce a cloth with a level of iridescence. Once the yarn's been dyed, it then dries and is then wound into balls. Once in balls, I can make the warp. A warp can be anything from a couple of yards or metres right up to 12 or more metres long. In this case, because I'm playing and sampling, it's a very short warp. It's only 4.5 metres long. Once the warp's made, it's put onto the loom. This is quite challenging, and because the warp makes up half of the cloth, it's really important to get it on the loom evenly and wound properly onto the back beam. In this particular cloth there are nearly 500 threads. Each thread has to be individually threaded through the heddles. A heddle is attached to a shaft so that they can be lifted up independently. Once they've been put through the heddles, they're then slayed through a reed. The reed sets the density of the cloth, and this is what hopefully will make it come out with beautiful drape. And once this happens, it's then tied onto the front beam, the tension's checked, the threading's checked, as quite often there can be an error, and once everything's to my satisfaction, I then start the process of passing the thread, the warp thread, through the shed and making the cloth. Threading the reed, which spreads the warp threads out to the right density, which means that the cloth comes out not too thin and not too thick. This one is set at 24 ends per inch, that's 10 ends per centimetre, and at the moment we've got about 450 different single threads. Because I want them at this density, I'm putting 2 through each slot in the reed, and to make sure they don't escape, I tie them up with a little knot. And then we take the next group. Each of the threads have been threaded through a heddle, and the heddles are attached to the shaft, so each thread will be lifted independently and can be manipulated on its own. Because I'm testing out a design with colour in it, it was essential not only to get each thread onto the right shaft, but to get the right colour thread onto each shaft. And the colours I'm using are a bright orange, a bright pink and a turquoise. These were dyed myself, and I'm hoping to get a sort of iridescent effect when the cloth's woven. The colour wheel. On this board are 36 different colours that I've dyed in a lamb's wool. These are repeatable colours. They're colours that I accurately measure and I can reproduce. I make them using only 4 base dyes, a red, yellow, blue and black. And from them I can get all 36 colours plus a number of hues in between. And this gives me a base palette for a lot of my creations. Due to the coronavirus, unfortunately, I'm unable to welcome you to my studio, which means that instead of producing items for my customers and for commission, I'm having time to play. However, I did take a break from my loom in order to make some medical scrubs for the local doctor's surgeries. And so you can see me at my sewing machine, which is where I make some of the fabric I weave into cushions and other items. Lockdown has given me playtime. One of the things I was looking at was some charcoal and grey yarn and trying out variants of a twill to give me some ideas for designs for new products for later on in the year. I then followed this by a beautiful mix of cashmere and tencel. Next up is a log cabin scarf. This was created just as the spring flowers were peeping through, and I wanted something that would bring together the softness and colour of spring. So it's a cashmere and silk yarn that I've dyed in spring pastels, and I was delighted with the outcome of this. It's beautifully soft and has wonderful drape. The black and white checked cloth is 5 yards of sample. This is where I was playing to see how you could combine colours and threads just using black and white to make a myriad of patterns across the cloth. This is something that I will use when I'm designing in order to select areas that I want to put into a new cloth. Next up is a shadow weave scarf. Shadow weave is interesting in that it produces a cloth that combines shadowed or echoed elements, and it's one that I've developed for the sample cloth that I'm actually producing at the moment. And finally is a beautiful soft stole from my Mediterranean Winds collection. This is a collection of 5 scarves that I use for teaching, and they make beautiful, soft, comforting, drapey stoles. This one has a lot of bling in it, and it was at the request of my daughter. I hope you've enjoyed this short guided tour, and I do hope that once the coronavirus is over and we're once again allowed out, you will come and visit my studio. Here I can show you how to spin, how to weave, the results of my dyeing, and where my experiments over the last year have taken me. Do come and play. Looking forward to seeing you, and thank you. Bye.